Hello there, Brick Fanatics! So there's an old marketing slogan from 100 years ago in the 1990s that Sonic the Hedgehog fans have never quite let go of, which is Genesis does what Nintendon't. The meaning being that the Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive as it was called in the UK and other parts of the world, is somehow better than the Nintendo equivalent. And to a certain extent I would say that this is true of the LEGO Sonic the Hedgehog range. LEGO Sonic does what LEGO Mario don't, specifically allowing people to play their own way with the toy. Much like the LEGO Super Mario range, the LEGO Sonic range is built around trying to recreate the experience of playing a video game, in this case with a speed sphere, there it is, and the speed sphere launcher, there that is. These things are, well, they're hit and miss, if I'm honest. They are actually literally hit and miss, because depending on the amount of force you put in, you can either get Sonic to go up a loop, or you can get him to kind of wobble and fall over, which is not quite what the LEGO group had in mind, I have to assume. But it does mean that some people are going to think that these are alright, other people are not going to love them. The Sonic the Hedgehog range and the Speed Sphere take their cues from the Stuntz sub-theme of the LEGO City range, and this is an absolutely perfect design choice, especially when it comes to reusing parts such as this loop here, which, yeah, it's perfect. It's basically just Sonic already. Some of the sets are relatively small and feature just one ramp to go up. Some of the sets have this big loop and a ring to jump through and various other obstacles for Sonic to get past. Anyone who's ever played a Sonic game will know that Sonic's true nemesis, rather than Dr. Eggman or Dr. Robotnik, is indeed gravity and the laws of physics in general. And alas, with the Sonic the Hedgehog LEGO sets, often gravity doesn't work on your side. This is one part of the video game experience that probably didn't need to be translated quite so perfectly into LEGO form, but hey, it's been done now, what can you do? So much like the LEGO Mario range, the LEGO Sonic range has some issues with the design of its courses. But, unlike the LEGO Mario range, the LEGO Sonic range seems to preempt people's frustration with things that don't quite work the way that they want them to, and also offers some more roleplay type game experiences as well. Even the smallest of the Sonic LEGO sets comes with a ramp and a speed sphere and a speed sphere launcher, but also comes with this really funky little DJ mixing table, because Sonic is always known to be mixing on the DJ mixing table. I'm so sorry, I am so uncool. It comes with these two little vinyls that spin. It's got all these subwoofers in the back, it's got a lovely palm tree, and what's brilliant about this is it means that if you're really just not into playing with the speed sphere for more than 5 minutes, because honestly there's not more than 5 minutes of entertainment in that, you've also got something else to do as well. The small set also comes with, for example, a little deck chair and a parasol-equipped picnic table, a little chili dog, and there's a Badnik motorbug, which is also pretty neat, with a little hole in the top so that you can put in a Flicky, one of Sonic's little animal friends. I would say that my favourite of these sets are the ones that don't come with the speed spheres, that are just focused on what I would call roleplay. So for example, you've got the fantastic Tornado. This is a really solid little build, and it's strangely reminiscent of like 90s biplanes or older kind of retro LEGO sets. Not in the way that the parts are chosen, like the parts are all very modern, but there's just something in its construction. I feel like it's possibly because it has to make a lot of space for Tails' tails at the back here. So the way that it's designed is a lot more open than a lot of modern cockpits. There's just something about it that felt very nostalgic as I was putting it together, in a way that I can't necessarily explain or nail down. It felt right, and it felt like being a kid again and putting a LEGO set together, which when you're building some of the larger sets, certainly I love the LEGO Ideas Green Hill Zone. It's a fantastic set, but it feels like a modern set for an adult, whereas these sets, building something for kids doesn't always necessarily feel the same as it did 20, 30 years ago, but this one in particular, it's like they were back in the day. It's retro, it's old school, and that's pretty brilliant. Another of the sets that work really well without the speed sphere is Amy Rose's Animal Rescue. This doesn't feel like a Stuntz set, because there's no Stuntz parts in it whatsoever. This feels like a LEGO Friends set. So there's some classic LEGO Friends elements. For example, there's a little drinks bottle for feeding a baby animal. You've got up here the cocktail bar. You've got the beach scene down here. A lot of these elements are the same kinds of stuff that you would find in a LEGO Friends set. This set comes with 3 little animals, which would make sense given that it's an animal rescue set. They've all got their own little beds at the back. They've really taken the kitchen sink approach with these sets, which is they've thrown in a lot of different types of things and said, do you know what, you figure it out. What do you want from Lego Sonic? Here's a bunch of stuff. Pick the things you like the best and just have fun and just be creative and just explore it at your own pace. And that's absolutely wonderful. Another great thing about this Amy Rose set is, oh no, there's a hidden gem. Wait, someone's nicked the gem out. Boop. Look at that. It opens up and there's a little gem inside, which I just think is cool. We've also got this little wonky bridge, which can fall down, up and down and up and down. There's a lot of neat, really inventive stuff in this set. It's a very clever thing that's been put together in such a way that it's kind of, there's a lot to explore, there's a lot to experiment with, and for those younger fans who are playing with this, there's a lot of different ways of role-playing with it and a lot of different things that you can interact with that are basically just going to be a good old time. I mean, I say younger fans, it does depend. Anybody can enjoy this set. There's a lot to be enjoyed even if you're a bit older. But I think specifically the goal was to make something for younger fans where older fans have got the LEGO Ideas set instead. Because these sets are designed to be a bit more all ages than the LEGO Ideas set, a lot of the builds will feel very simple. They're not going to be particularly challenging, and therefore they're not going to feel particularly satisfying, with one exception. This mech is absolutely the best part of the entire range from a building perspective. It's a lot of fun to put together. It's really chunky, it's solid, it feels good in the hand. There's the one main play feature to it, which is that if Sonic in his speed sphere is to hit him hard enough, the back pops open and you can hide some little tiny animals inside it if you want to, for the full Sonic experience of breaking a robot and setting free some animals. But whether or not you want to do that will depend on whether you want to display them in a different way or you've got other things that you want to do with the animals. This one, and probably only this one, makes a really solid display piece on the shelf. So for the big giant loop set, it's going to be a challenge to find, for one thing, shelf space where it's going to fit, but also it feels more like a toy than like a display piece, and it's basically exactly the same thing as the Idea set, but just kind of blown out to a larger scale and with a bit more simplicity for ease of building. This giant Robotnik mech, or Eggman mech if you so choose, not only pairs well with the Green Hill Zone LEGO Idea set, that's kind of, it feels like the completion of this set. The original design for this by Toaster Girl featured this large mech, as the set was based on the game Sonic Mania, which features Green Hill Zone, and then at the end for the boss for that stage, Dr. Robotnik shows up in this giant mech. Now, for whatever reason, this mech was removed from the final retail version of the set, and instead we get the brick-built Eggman in his little flying hover thing, which is also really cool, but then adding the mech in feels like the completion of a set that otherwise was missing something. So this is a really neat thing to have, and it, as I say, it feels great in the hand. It's a lot of fun to put together. It feels satisfying in that you're putting in a lot of pieces in a small amount of space, and so it feels like dense and meaty and chunky in a way that a lot of the other sets don't, because they're more simple and because you're building with large pieces, like with the loop. Those are all very large things that slot together relatively simply and don't feel like quite the same more grown-up, more adult LEGO experience. So this is probably the highlight of this, at least first wave of LEGO sets. The loop challenge does also come with another mech, which is this one, which can be converted either into like a hover design or can have the legs popped onto it. It's good, it's fine, it serves a different purpose. There's more pieces to it that can be interacted with. It's not quite as much fun to put together because it's a lot smaller and there's a lot less to it. It's still enjoyable, but the Death Egg mech is the more fun one, I think, of the two to actually construct and then to put on the shelf and display. The minifigures that come with this range are pretty cool, as long as you're okay with the kinds of minifigures that have custom molded parts like heads and, in this case, tails. They're just, it's a wonderful recreation of Tails. Tails in particular has an issue, which is because his tails are molded as two separate tails, they don't fit very well in his plane, which feels like a bit of a design flaw. And also, because he's not got legs with a hinge, he's got the shorter leg design. It means that he can't sit down, but then the tails would probably get in the way anyway, so it does limit the amount that he can be used for different play scenarios, depending on what you're going to do with the set. Tails is but one of the minifigures that we have. We've also got a brand new Amy Rose. Amy's skirt piece is the same skirt piece that would be used for Minnie Mouse, which is, I mean, it's fairly fitting because she is the Minnie Mouse of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Like, she was literally designed as a character to be the Minnie Mouse to Sonic's Mickey. Her headpiece feels a bit big, just a bit chunkier than maybe would be kind of on brand for the character or on model for the character. But otherwise, she's perfectly fine. She's great. This is the Dr. Robotnik / Dr. Eggman from the LEGO Ideas set. And this is the new Dr. Robotnik / Dr. Eggman minifigure for the new wave of sets. So a lot smaller and perhaps then kind of off scale a bit because he's not supposed to be only a little bit bigger than Sonic the Hedgehog himself. He uses the legs from the Navi from the LEGO Avatar sets. He uses the arms from a Hagrid size minifigure. And then his body and torso and head are all one piece, which are molded together. It's a pretty good minifigure if this is the kind of minifigure that you like. If you're the kind of person who would rather have a LEGO minifigure that feels a bit more LEGO and a bit less like just a generic toy, then maybe you're not going to be quite as impressed. Personally, I think he's brilliant. I absolutely adore him. He's got a look to him which puts in mind Sonic CD and the way that the character was drawn in Sonic CD, plus a little bit of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Perhaps it's just the high collar, perhaps it's just seeing him from multiple angles in a way that's not always the case in the games. He's fun though. He's a fun minifigure. That's a fun inclusion. Sonic the Hedgehog is more or less the same as he's been in his previous two iterations, both with LEGO Dimensions and with the LEGO Ideas minifigure. The LEGO Ideas minifigure is based on classic Sonic and so has a slightly different shaped tummy and has irises with no colour. So there's just black pupils for eyes. This one's got the green eye. There are two different designs for Sonic in this wave of sets. So we've got one where we've got two eyes open, which is more or less the same as the previous Sonics. One which is winking. The one which is winking has so much charm and personality to him. It's just so much fun to pose him in a scene, to play with him. He's going to be great for photography. He's going to be great for filmmaking. The Sonic LEGO fan film community has been given a tremendous boon with this. It's going to be great, and we're going to see some fantastic fan-made LEGO animations using this guy that are going to really knock things out of the park. I'm absolutely sure. The big question that you need to ask yourself with these sets is, what are you going to get them for? If your goal is to put something on display, to have a wonderful display piece, then the LEGO Ideas set is a better choice. It is the one that displays better. It is the one that feels more fun to put together. It is the one that feels a bit more grown up. The one exception to that being the giant mech, which is a great choice to put on display as well. Any of the sets can be displayed, but it's just some look better as a display than others. If, on the other hand, you're looking for something for slightly younger LEGO fans, if you're planning on playing some Sonic the Hedgehog with somebody who's younger, or if you just like playing with toys yourself, then these are going to be the better choice for you because they are more designed around play. They're less flimsy. They're fairly sturdy builds. That does depend on the set, but there's a lot to get out of these as like a roleplay toy, and then as a kind of the speed sphere toy that goes through an obstacle course as well. They integrate very well with the LEGO Stuntz sets. They integrate very well with the LEGO Friends sets. There's a bit of Minecraft in there as well, especially in the design of the kind of blocky green hill zone terrain. These sets are going to fit in great with a LEGO collection for both a younger and a slightly older fan, but if you're looking for something that's purely for display purposes, you'll want the LEGO Ideas set instead. If you already have the LEGO Ideas set, do you need these other ones? It does depend. This one works very well as an accompaniment to the LEGO Idea set. This one's fun as well just because it's a nice plane that can be added to a scene. That'll work well. You probably don't need all of the speed sphere stuff if you're just looking for something to complement the Idea set. You might not need 2 Sonic minifigures, and if that's the case, if you're just looking at this from a minifigure perspective, then it's probably the mech, and it's also Amy's Animal Rescue, because that will get you Amy and that will also get you Tails. Or if you just like collecting Sonic, go ahead and get all of them, because why not? Because they're fun. They're relatively cheap, relatively accessible. The biggest one is the most expensive at just shy of £100, or slightly more than $100 or €100. All the others are priced around about between 30 and 60 of your relative currency. This is another relatively expensive one, but it feels worth it because this is a chunky, more substantial build, if that makes sense. Ultimately, the LEGO Sonic the Hedgehog range has a lot to offer to a lot of different people. It does skew slightly younger than the LEGO Idea set, but unlike the LEGO Super Mario sets, you can do a lot of things with them. You can roleplay, you can do the speed sphere stuff if that's more interesting to you. You've got something that feels like LEGO Friends, you've got something that feels more like the LEGO Stunt sets. You've got a lot of different options. There's plenty of creativity in these sets. They're absolutely worth investing in, and they're just plain fun. That said, mileage may vary depending on how much you personally like Sonic the Hedgehog. If you've got this far into a video about LEGO Sonic, you're probably a decent enough fan to have a good time with these. And there you have it. Thank you very much for watching. If you would like to know more about the LEGO Sonic the Hedgehog sets, be sure to head to the Brick Fanatics website, where we've got in-depth reviews for every single one of them, covering all the ins and outs and all of the fun little extra details that are hidden within the sets. Make sure that you also subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so that you are the first to know whenever we publish a new video, and make sure you sign up for the Brick Fanatics newsletter so that you never miss out on any LEGO news ever again. Thank you very much for watching.